Today, Nuheat is one of the largest UK specialist suppliers of warm water underfloor heating systems. And since 1992, the company supplied thousands of systems for new build houses, apartments, renovations, conservatories and extensions, as well as commercial and industrial buildings. Nuheat is at the forefront of technical innovation in underfloor heating, not just in its research and development of new products, but in its approach to integration with green technologies and the importance placed on energy efficiency. We now offer a full range of ground source, air source and exhaust air heat pumps, as well as flat and evacuated tube solar thermal panels. Whether linked to a heat pump or a more conventional heat source such as a conventional gas or oil boiler, Nuheat provides a complete package, supported with award-winning installation manuals. All the heat pump and solar thermal packages supplied by Nuheat are backed up with detailed docking drawings to illustrate how the components fit together and connect to the underfloor heating. With one supplier, there's just one source of responsibility, and the reassurance that all the various parts are designed to work with each other and integrate seamlessly. There are 4 words that sum up the company's philosophy: design, expertise, innovation and service. It's easy to say, but they're taken very seriously at Nuheat. Every system is individually overseen by an experienced designer who has a thorough understanding of all the relevant building and regulation issues that could come up. With over 60 floor constructions to choose from, there's bound to be a simple solution for every project. The following case study is typical of the many projects that specify Nuheat products. Nick and Sue are building a family home. But it's probably best to let Nick tell you about it.
We bought this house, particular house, the old house, 2 or 3 years ago, and we knew that there was going to be room in the garden to build a house of what we would like for ourselves. The house is at the top of the site, and luckily we had a spot where we could actually have the house facing due south over the garden, the private garden at the front, and yeah, that's how it's got going.
Who designed the house for you?
Well, luckily I'm an architect, so I didn't have any option, but I had to design it for myself. I am the client and the architect rolled into one, so I have to have this two-way conversation all the time with myself. Do you really want it like that? Well, yes, thank you, that's very good. Or no. We've chosen a timber frame construction. We've for speed and also for efficiency in terms of heat loss, and also because it's a sustainable, renewable building material. The heating side, we have an underfloor heating system by Nuheat, who came very well recommended, very, very useful for us. And that is driven by an air source heat pump, which again provides good economies. And in addition to that, we have roof solar panels, which also have been supplied by Nuheat as well.
Nick and Sue first contacted Nuheat through the website. Their design was thoroughly discussed with a project manager before a quotation was issued. In this way, all the details about the floor constructions, the floor coverings and the heat sources are confirmed at an early stage. Because they were keen to discuss the benefits of the various heat pump models that Nuheat supplies, they visited the offices, where heat pump and solar thermal units can be seen demonstrated. When the decision has been made and the system ordered, a project designer uses Nuheat's optimizer program to do a series of detailed heat loss calculations which determine the correct amount of heating tube needed to heat the house, whilst taking into account the different floor coverings being used. He then creates the computer-aided design or CAD drawings. The parts for each bespoke system are assembled, packaged and loaded for shipping to the customer. The system can be installed by a Nuheat registered installer or your own heating engineer. Remember that currently, where a renewables grant is being applied for, there's a requirement for a qualified installer to do the work. To ensure that systems are installed correctly, Nuheat operates a purpose-built training centre running nationally accredited training courses for industry professionals in underfloor heating, heat pump and solar thermal installations, as well as unvented hot water systems. Qualifications are recognised under the government's grant system for renewable technologies. After the ground floor underfloor heating is completed, a screed covers the tubes and acts as a huge thermal store when the heating is in use. Sue and Nick have chosen to use a liquid screed. The final floor finish, carpet, timber or tile, will be laid on top when the screed's completely dry. How have you found the experience of working with Nuheat?
Well, Nuheat have been very good actually. It's all arrived on site at the due time, and as you've just seen, it's just being installed, so very good, I would say. Clearly I'm interested in sustainable resources and keeping my carbon footprint as low as possible. We're in a situation where we have no gas supply to the site at the moment, and the air source heat pump, although the payback period is over a fair time, it is a very good solution for situations like this. Saves having to put oil tanks or any other sort of fuel storage system around. And in addition to the heat pump, we'd supplement that with the solar heating, which even on days like today in the middle of December will provide heat for the underfloor heating as well. So that's going to provide us with heat for hot water all year round, and also for space heating as well. The underfloor heating, of course, the heat that has to be generated, and doesn't have to be as hot as the heat that you would normally need from a boiler system, and there aren't any radiators, which is very important to us. We've got a lot of glazed areas, and the radiators will just take up wall space where we just don't want them.
Okay, so we've looked at a typical project and how straightforward it can be. Now the next sections go into a bit more detail on the technology and, importantly, how to decide which one is right for your project. To discuss your project, please call us on 0800 731 1976 or visit the website at www.nuheat.co.uk. Nuheat's experience in designing warm water underfloor heating systems is unrivaled. The company has now installed over 16,000 systems in the UK alone. But how does warm water underfloor heating work? Warm water is pumped through jointless plastic tubing embedded in the floor. Because the area of the floor is large, the temperature of the water needed to raise the room temperature is much lower than for radiators. Typically between 35 and 55 degrees centigrade, and that's compared to 65 degrees or higher for radiators. A separate thermostat in each individual zone calls for heat, which in turn opens a valve on the Optiflow manifold, switching on the pump and the boiler. Heat then radiates from the floor until the temperature set on the room thermostat is reached. The thermostat then switches that zone off, and unless other zones are calling for heat, the system is switched off. The versatility of Nuheat's underfloor heating systems means that you can use the underfloor heating both downstairs and upstairs in a variety of floors, timber, concrete, whatever. And once that pipe is in the floor, you can forget it, because it's covered by a 25-year guarantee. But there are also some other benefits to underfloor heating. Firstly, when it comes to interior design, it frees you up completely because you haven't got to worry about radiators on the walls, so you can put the furniture where you want to put it. And of course, towel warmers can still be fitted in bathrooms.